we've been talking about CA finish. And the deal was, what is the better one? Which one is easier to use? Which one will give you a better finish? I don't think we can answer that with one answer. The question's multi-layered. But this week I went over to Ronnie Bonnet's house. In fact, it was yesterday. I went over to Ronnie Bonnet's house, and we did a little demo on using CA glue. And this is, now I'm going to ask y'all to bear with us on this, and we'll have some time for the comments at the end. But this is a demonstration we're working on to explain a little bit about one form of CA product. So right now we're going to go to the video. And we should be up and playing, but we're not playing yet. Let's find out where it's not playing. Now it is.
In the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about doing CA finishes. I want to show you how to do a CA finish using a couple different products. But I'm going to start with the Parfix. Now, this is, I got to tell you how I'm going to do this. Wait a minute. You can't do this because you haven't done it yet. You got to hand it over and then take it back. What do you mean hand it over? You know, hey. You got to learn first before you can do it. I started out running before I walked. There you go. All right. So Ronnie Bonnet is here, and we're going to, all right, you understand. We're going to do this using Parfix 3408, pardon me. Let's go. For the last little bit, we've been talking about doing a CA finish on a piece. I like to do regular CA glue. Ronnie likes to do this Parfix 3408. So I'm going to show you how things happen with this when you do the formula right. All right. Wait. You're doing it? Yeah, I'm doing it. You can't overlay your voice on this. You can overlay your voice on yours. But this is the world of CA. The world of CA contains a whole bunch of different types of CA. I have Starbond, thin, and I have Parfix 3408, super thin. You might say, well, what's the difference? I did that. Starbond thin, the viscosity number is 100.
It's frozen, isn't it?
Remember that number now, 100.
It's a black screen. We can hear it, but can't see nothing.
The viscosity is 5.
All right, hold on. I got to get that off.
It's going to go into the wood a lot quicker and a lot deeper.
I have to find that one and turn it off. I got that one off. I'm going to go back to sharing screen, and in stopping it, I stopped it altogether. I'll have to open it back up again. Ronnie, you're with us, right?
I'm here.
Okay, I'm going to get that video back up. I don't know why I stopped it. Oh, well, it's just like I stopped the other one. So let me go back to this. It's loading screen sharing right now. And we worked so hard on this yesterday. I gave him a hard time and everything. I mean, he kind of earned it.
As you notice, I was giving him a hard time back.
Certainly. Yeah.
You have to.
Got it.
I can't get it to come back up again. Oh man, what a bummer.
Tell that mouse to run a little bit quicker.
It's all uphill right now. Ronnie, I don't know if I can get it back up. I'm having some computer problems here because of the lightning in the area. I don't know if that's causing it, but I'm blinking an anonymous power server.
We had that this evening and you straightened it out.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to doing it. Ronnie, tell them more about what we did and why I'm finding it.
All right. Can you run the video without any sound?
I'm trying to get there too. Going to go back to sharing screen and see if it'll come up. I'm still looking at you. It says I'm loading the screen. And that's what you're seeing right now. Eddie Castellan started screen sharing. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave the meeting on that computer and see if it helps. don't think we're up yet. Try it again, Ronnie.
For the last little bit, we've been talking about doing a CA finish on a piece. I like to do regular CA glue. Ronnie likes to do this Parfix 3408.
No video, just audio.
81 degrees and the humidity is 64%. So for down here.
Okay, I'm going to bail out of that for right now. We have it done. It was the screen sharing is giving us a little bit of a problem. We had it worked and we tested it earlier today. In fact, give Ronnie a hard time about it. We actually did the thing online to see if it worked. Don't know what has happened. Ronnie, you still there? I'm going to pop you up on.
Yeah. The bottom line is we all turn and we all sand to a certain point. If you ask me about sanding, I would say I started 80 grit, and the reason I started 80 grit is because I want everything uniform. And I'll probably spend more time on the 80 grit than I do anything else. Once I feel like I have everything uniform, and then I'll go on to other grits. I sand from 80 grit to 800. And there's 12 different steps in there to get to 800. So that's what I use. After you finish sanding, the last grit at 800. Now, as I'm sanding, I'm using a Harbor Freight little air sander. And I love the thing. It works great. It's cheap. And when it goes, the one I have is about 3 or 4 years old. When it dies, I'm just going to throw it on the side and go to Harbor Freight and spend another 20 bucks. Sand to 800. Now, as you're sanding, when I hit the grit about 240, I'll stop, take a spray bottle, and saturate the whole piece. I mean, soaking wet. And then I'll turn the lathe back on and I'll let it air dry. I'll go sit down and get a cup of coffee or Coke or whatever. I'll let it dry, then I come back and I start sanding again with the grit I left off with. I sand forward and reverse, and I'll go all the way to 800. At 800, when you're finished with the air sander, you take your 800 grit in the palm of your hand, and you orbitally go over the whole piece. The reason that is so you're not leaving any marks on the wood. Anything that's there will not be seen. At that point, I take a clean piece of Scott towel, probably 2 pieces, and I turn the lathe on and I'll wipe it completely down. When I'm finished with the first piece, I'll come back with the second piece of Scott towel and continue wiping. When I feel like I have all the dust and everything off, I've already blown everything off, wiped it down and everything else. Turn off your lathe, put it into forward motion, and turn your lathe on as slow as your lathe will go. Normally it's around 100 for my lathe. At that point, with your gloves on and your eye protection, don't forget your eye protection. At that point, I'll take a piece of Scott towel. I'm saying Scott towel. It's that blue towel from Home Depot. I'll take a small piece. When I say small, I take a whole roll and I cut it in 3. So I'm using 1/3 of a sheet. At that point, I'll fold that over about 6 times. At that point, I take my CA to 3408 and I drizzle it across the tip of the towel. When I go to apply the CA, I'm not starting on the very end because that's a good way of getting CA glue in your chuck. back off the end a little bit towards the middle. You turn the bottle upside down. At that point, it's drizzling out of the bottle. When you start to see it come out, you're going to start to back up towards the back of the bowl, and then you proceed to come towards the front of the bowl, the top of the bowl. I'll continue drizzling that all the way across. So now the whole bowl is saturated with CA. At that point, I'll put the bottle down, and I'll take that same piece of Scott towel, and I'll keep going back and forth across it a few times. At that point, I'll turn the lathe off, and I'll take it manually and just make random circles around, making sure there's no holidays or anything else. You might say, well, how much time do you have to work this? You'll be surprised with this product how much time you have to work. After I'm finished it at that point, I'll take another piece of dry towel and I'll wipe the whole entire bowl off. And you might say to yourself, well, I can't do that because it's going to stick. With this product, it's not going to stick. Just keep it moving, and it's already into the wood at this point. Wipe the whole bowl down with a dry piece of Scott towel. When you finish at that point, you stand back about 12 to 16 inches off of it with the bowl running slowly on the lathe, and you take your activator and you hit it a miss. When I say a miss, you're only staying on it for probably a little over 2 seconds. That's all you want, is that cloud of accelerator to be around that bowl. At that point, I'll back off. I'll go sit down, have something to drink, or what I'll start doing is taking that bowl off, and I'll get ready for buffing. And we had the buffing all done on this video. At that point, I'll put the buffing wheel on it. Now, when you're talking about buffing, most of us probably have that Beal buffing system, and it comes with 3 buffers. There's only 2 of the buffers that I'll use. I won't use the very coarse one that you would normally use the Red Rouge for. I just leave that on the side. The second buffer that you would normally use the White Diamond on, I don't use a White Diamond. The only thing I use is Vonex. The reason for Vonex is made for acrylics. And if you use the White Diamond or if you use the Red Rouge, you're backing up the wrong way. We're looking to make it finer. So that's what the Vonex is about. I'll load the buffing wheel with the Vonex, and I start buffing it. As you buff it, you buff in a figure-8 motion all the way across. And when I'm finished buffing it, I'll change the wheel to the wax, and I'll load the wheel up with Canuba wax, and then I come back and I lightly buff the whole piece. While you're buffing with the wax, if you see you're starting to get white streaks, that's not a problem. Just stop and buff lighter. What's happening is you're buffing too hard. There's too much friction. So just stop and buff lighter than what you were doing, and that'll disappear. And when you finish that, you're finished. Yesterday when we made this video, I had the stopwatch on from the time I started, and when we finished putting the CA on, I bet you it didn't take us a minute to do it because there's nothing to it. At that point, I left the stopwatch running. I took the bowl off, took the chuck off. I mounted the Beal buffing system on there. We completely buffed it. We waxed it and everything else. And I was totally finished, and it was about 10 minutes. So the actual time it takes to do this is probably no more than probably 3 to 4 minutes. So that's how it works out. If we can get this video up and working again, we can probably show this at a later date. So
we can, Lonnie. We're having a technical problem, and I know what it is. So we can play this again later on, but we will post it to our YouTube website. I was sending it to. I'll be linking it up and giving it to David to put it on our website. It explains the whole thing. Really does.
If anybody has any questions, come forth and ask your questions now. I made sure I got in touch with Mark Saleh when we finished this video yesterday, and I asked him to try to be here tonight because Mark had something to do tonight, but he's in the house. If I can't answer your question, I'm sure Mark can answer your question. So this is a great product, and it's the easiest you'll ever do. So,
yeah, this is Alfred. How many coats of the CA did you put on?
One coat. You gotta remember the normal thin CA glue, the viscosity is about 100. This Parfix 3408, the viscosity is 5.
Wow.
I thought the open time was only 40 seconds.
No, you have more time than that, and that's going to vary a little bit on the temperature and the amount of humidity in your area. I think personally we have more humidity than probably most people have, and you don't have a problem as far as the open time on this.
You say a lot of humidity. We can't beat Kim, but we get close. Kim's where you can take a slice out of the air. But, you know, the humidity we had the other day was pretty bad. We had a front coming in, moving some weather through, and that's going to impact the curing time and drying time. But the guy said you got a 40-second overtime. I tell you, I wish I could get that thing running because he was still rubbing in it about a minute afterwards and smoothing it out. And
I would probably say normal CA, you have about a 40-second open time.
Oh, I don't think I get that. I don't think I get one past.
Maybe not. But
I live in California, and it hardens up pretty quick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay. Can I say something?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. I've been using this product for 13 years. It's medical super glue, right? It does have a specified 40-second time delay before polymerization begins. 3460 has a 50-second time delay. A lot of times when I'm doing a demo, I'll sit there and I'll wipe it for 2 minutes. There's going to be a certain time, right, depending on the humidity and the temperature, that's going to start to polymerize. And when it does, it's just like any other super glue. It's going to generate heat, right? And your paper towel that you're using will stick up. But what's nice about it is it won't start smoking and sticking and stinking right away. It's odorless, right? So if you want to further, what Ronnie said is probably 99.9% correct. If you want to go to the YouTube, just look up Mark Saleh finishes wood with Parfix 3408. And it's a little bit more detailed, and you can see exactly what I do, right? But anyway, it is a fabulous product, and you never, if you're going to do a hollow form or something like that, right? The reason that people get so upset about super glue is they try to finish a great big hollow form like a pen. They put 3 or 4 or 5 coats on it. And what they're doing is they're making an eggshell on the outside. So as the humidity changes, right, the wood is always expanding and contracting. And so eventually, if you have an eggshell on the outside, it'll crackle. But since you only put 1 coat on, you wipe it on, wipe it off, what you've really created is a cellulose reinforced acrylic plastic. you've actually stabilized the wood, and it's not on the outside like a shell. Anyway, you just go to Mark Soleil, Finishes Wood with Parfix 3408 on YouTube. It's all there. And they carry 4 different weights. They have the 5 centipoid 3408, which is good for cracks or finishing the surface. They have 3460, which is 45 centipoids, which is good for the pen turners. It'll still soak into the wood, but it's not thin enough to go down and lock up the bushings. They have a Parfix 900, which is 100 centipoids, which is like your stick fast, your star bond medium. And they make a 3403, which is 1,000 centipoids, like a gel. I personally don't use the real thick stuff, but there are some applications, mostly industrial. Anyway, that's the basic medical super glue pack. And the only other thing that I use, right, is when I'm attaching 2 woods, if I use a rubberized or flexible super glue that they make, because if you put a finial or a collar, an insert collar on a hollow form, and they're 2 different woods, and the humidity expands and contracts, both those woods have a different coefficient of expansion. So the crystals would eventually break. So if you have a non-crystalline product, right, it's a rubberized product that never crystallizes, it stays flexible, right? And so, I mean, I've had stuff I use for 13 years and it's still fine. There's no cracking or checking or anything like that.
Thank you, Mark. And now we had a question. What is the activator? And that is, we said earlier in the program, it's the 1144. That's 1144. That's in the chat information in our program. And
Eddie, highlight me.
Are you highlighted, bud? All right, go back to it again, Ronnie.
I got him.
All right. This
is the piece.
Very nice.
This is a piece that we did yesterday.
That's very good, Ronnie.
Very nice.
If you was using wipe-on poly or lacquer, you'd still be working, getting a second and third coat on there and evened out.
Yeah.
That's just one coat, Ronnie?
One coat. And that's the secret. You don't want to put multiple coats. One coat.
Hey, Ronnie, is there any way you can change the sheen, you know, gloss to like semi-gloss? Is there a process you can do?
Yeah.
Buff it with a towel.
You sand it back.
What do you say on that?
You can cut it back with 4/0 steel wool.
Okay.
Could you use that on wet wood, like on those crosses?
So, Mark, what are you saying? For less sheen, you would hit it with the steel wool?
Yeah, you can just cut it back with 4/0 steel wool.
Okay, this shine here is what I think of as a natural wood shine. You're not going to have a lack of finish.
It's a high set. Right, it's a high set and it's not a glass. If you put 3 or 4 coats on like a pen, you can polish it out like glass.
Can you use that on green wood, like on those crosses?
I wouldn't recommend it.
It reacts to moisture. Think about it. It reacts to all your moisture.
Well,
there's white and milky. It reacts.
If you're using green wood, you got moisture there already. That's going to act like your activator.
That's correct.
Well,
any activator will work, but I use the heptane-based activator, the 1144, because if you use an acetone-based activator and people spray the living tar out of it, right, what they're doing, they're dissolving the very acrylic plastic they're trying to make, because acetone dissolves super glue. So if you use a heptane-based, right, then it doesn't dissolve the super glue, and you don't have all these shiny and dull spots and all that where you've destroyed the super glue finish with the activator.
This finish is going to stay like this. It's not going to change. It's not going to dull over time.
Right.
This is coated in plastic.
And I mentioned all this is possible because Tom Moore left a big piece of wood by Ronnie's house.
Well, I was just getting ready to make a comment. That don't look like no 2x4.
Yeah, this is far from a 2x4. A good friend, Tom Moore, which is here tonight with us, gave me this piece of wood.
I hope you fed him.
It's hard to feed him. He's not down here long enough. Every now and then I'll get him to drink a beer with me.